Let's talk about lances on motorbike. Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatore. So clearly most people who are viewing my channel see the comments underneath my latest video, but don't necessarily go back and look at old videos where sometimes there are still new comments coming, because people sometimes discover my channel or discover older videos of mine and they comment underneath them, and sometimes those comments under old videos are actually really interesting and inspire me to make a new video. So by all means go back and watch old videos of mine. I'm sure I've got something like, I don't know, like over 1,000 anyway, like maybe 1,200 videos on my channel. It's a ridiculous number of videos, and that's partly because in the early days I was doing incredibly, sometimes twice a day uploads, but very short videos, like 3-minute videos, but nevertheless I've covered a lot of topics, and some of those topics I haven't actually got around to covering again in more depth, and you know, famously so, I have said in many of my videos, and in a future video I'll cover that topic, and I haven't got around to it, but that's great. That means I've got years worth of future things to cover. I haven't run out of topics quite yet, although I guess at some point I might do. But sometimes those old videos get comments underneath them, and because of the way that I can view as a creator, as a YouTuber, I can view the comments coming in. It enables me to see comments as they come in, and regardless of how old or how new the video is. And one comment that came up today, in fact, was asking me what kind of lance would I recommend for using from a motorbike. Well, first of all, I should state I have never ridden a motorbike. I've not even ridden on the back of a motorbike. So my experience of motorbikes is limited. I do think motorbikes are cool. I've just not ever got round to riding one. As it happens, if I move house, which is something I'm considering, I would probably be further away from a station than I currently am. I have to commute into London by train, and so I might have to get some type of scooter or moped. So in the future I may have a motorbike of some kind, but at the moment I ride a bicycle, a pedal bike that is, and I ride about two miles to the station and 2 miles back. I live on the top of a hill, so in the morning it's easy, in the evening it's hard, but you know, it keeps my butt firm. But essentially I don't have an enormous amount of experience about what type of lance might be practical to use from the back of a motorbike. However, I have played around as a kid with sticks on a bicycle, and so I have some kind of insight into the length of poles that are even remotely manageable from a bicycle. And I would say whatever the precise length is, it's much shorter than a standard lance is. So a standard cavalry lance usually varies between about, shall we say 9 and 12, no, maybe not that much, maybe 8 and 12 feet at the absolute upper limit. But usually I think cavalry lances are about 8 or 9 foot long, something like this. Now I would find that completely unmanageable on a bicycle, and I suspect it would be the same on a motorbike, because you're a lot closer to the ground. When you're sitting on a horse, you're high up because of the legs of the horse. A motorbike or a bicycle means that you have to be able to put your feet on the ground. Clearly you can't put your feet on the ground when you're sitting on the back of a horse. So you're instantly losing, by moving to a motorbike or a bicycle, you're reducing your height and therefore the manageable length that you can handle a pole arm by about 3 or 4 foot, I should imagine, let's say by like that length. Now, so that will instantly bring it down to about 6 feet in length, I would imagine. No, even probably less than, yeah, let's say about maybe 5 or 6 feet. And I think this is about the maximum that I could easily manage if I was on a motorbike or a bicycle in a Mad Max type post-apocalyptic world, and for some reason I decided to use a lance. I think the maximum that you could really manage on a motorbike or a bicycle is about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet long. I can imagine, I've got some 6-foot spear shafts. Can I imagine using one of those on a bicycle? It would be very, very unwieldy. On a motorbike, a little bit more stable because it's heavier than a bicycle, and you're not pedaling, of course, and the handlebars don't turn quite as easily as on a bicycle. But I think that, yeah, I think maybe 6 foot is about the total upper limit, but a more manageable length I think would be 5 foot, and that still gives you a reach advantage over a sword, of course, and you can make a lance much more cheaply and easily. You could equip a group of post-apocalyptic Mad Max warriors. You could equip them with lances really easily. You just need pointy bits of metal, or maybe just pointy sticks on broom handles essentially. So I think 5 foot is a good length, maybe even as short as 4 foot, but let's say around 5 foot in length, sort of up to your chin would be the manageable length. And I'm holding just here a pig sticking lance head. This is an original 19th century pig sticking lance head. If you're wondering what on earth is pig sticking, it's essentially a sport that was incredibly popular in India and was adopted by British cavalrymen and officers, and just, in fact, lots of people in India did it, regardless of whether they were of British or Indian origin. And it's essentially riding around in the woods, looking for a wild boar and then lancing it to death. These days I'm sure it would be viewed as a barbaric blood sport, but I have to say it sounds like amazingly good fun to me. It's probably a relatively quick way for the pig to go as well. So essentially you ride around, look for a wild boar, maybe disturb some wild boars in the woods. There's some great, I think Rudyard Kipling wrote some stuff about pig sticking, and there's certainly there's some actual manuals written from the 19th century that talk about weapons as well, that talk about pig sticking. And of course, if you are a cavalryman, this is amazing training for improving your horsemanship, because boars can be dangerous. They might attack your horse. They're very tough opponents, and you've got to be very agile on your horse and very good at steering between trees and still trying to stick the pig and everything else. And of course, it's good practice for fighting against infantry, I guess. So a little bit like tent pegging as well, right? So this is essentially a pig sticking lance head. Some of these were made by Wilkinson. This one is unmarked. They originally had bamboo shafts, but the reason that I'm holding this specific spearhead rather than another spearhead that I have around, as you know I have several spears, is because pig sticking lances were very often only about 5 foot long, so perfect for the type of motorbike or bicycle post-apocalyptic scenario we're talking about. But interestingly, they were 5 foot long shafts, sometimes 6 foot, but very often 5 foot long shafts with a pommel on the end. And as you all know, pommels make any weapon more dangerous instantly, but the pommel at the end, the counterbalance, was usually made of lead and usually wrapped in leather, so it looks a little bit like almost like a cricket ball, but a bit smaller. So it's a little like a lead weight inside a leather pouch on the end of a pole, and it means that you can hold the shaft further back at the base of the shaft, so you've obviously got more of your weapon projecting in front of your hand, instead of with a traditional spear having to hold it nearer the middle to counterbalance it that way. So there we go, a completely random topic, but I actually think it's quite interesting, and it enabled me to talk about pig sticking, which I've been thinking about recently, and show you this pig sticking lance head, which is quite a nice thing. It's a cross sectioned thing, very obviously stiff and robust and strong. And there we go, that's what I would use on a motorbike in Mad Max world. I would use a pig sticking lance. Cheers, folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.